Yashodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Brahmachari Jamuna Tira Brahmachari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunda Bihari Jai Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Kunda Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Granth Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. That's okay. Reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 4th, Chapter 11th, verse 22nd. Kechit karma vadanti enam. Kechit karma vadanti enam. Svabhavam apare nirpa. Svabhavam apare nirpa. Eke kalam pare devam. Eke kalam pare devam. Pumsa kamam utapare. Pumsa kamam utapare. Kechit karma vadanti enam. Svabhavam apare nripa. Eke kalam pare devam. Pumsa kamam utapare. Kechit karma vadanti enam. Svabhavam apare nripa. Eke kalam pare devam. Pumsa kamam utapare. Kechit karma vadanti enam. Svabhavam apare nripa. Eke kalam pare devam. karma vadanti enam Mataji. Kechit karma vadanti enam Sakha Hare. Kechit karma vadantenam svabhavam apare nripa eke kalam pare devam pumsakamam utapare. Kechit karma vadantenam svabhavam apare nripa eke kalam pare devam word for word translation. Kechit, some, karma, fruitive activities, vadanti, explain, enam, that, swabhavam, nature, apare, others, nripa, my dear king Dhruva, eke, some, kalam, time, pare, others, devam, fate, pumsaha, of the living entity, kamam, desire, uta, also, apare, others. Translation. The differentiation among varieties of life and their suffering and enjoyment is explained by some to be the result of karma. Others say it is due to nature, others due to time, others due to fate, and still others say that it is due to desire. You can repeat the translation. The differentiation among varieties of life and their suffering and enjoyment is explained by some to be the result of karma. Others say it is due to nature, others due to time, others due to fate, and still others say that it is due to desire. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There are different types of philosophers, Mimamsakas, atheists, astronomers, sexualists, and so many other classifications of mental speculators. The real conclusion is that it is our work only that binds us within the material world in different varieties of life. How these varieties have sprung up is explained in the Vedas. It is due to the desire of the living entity. The living entity is not a dead stone. He has different varieties of desires or kama. The Vedas says kama karsit. The living entities are originally parts of the Lord, like sparks of a fire. But they have dropped into the material world, attracted by a desire to lord it over nature. That is a fact. Every living entity is trying to lord it over the material resources to the best of his ability. This kama or desire cannot be annihilated. There are some philosophers who say that if one gives up his desires, he again becomes liberated. But it is not at all possible to give up desire, for desire is a symptom of the living entity. If there was no desire, then the living entity would be a dead stone. Srila Srila Narottam Das Thakur therefore advises that one turn his desires towards serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then desire becomes purified. And when one's desires are purified, one becomes liberated from all material contamination. The conclusion is that different philosophers' theories to explain the varieties of life and their pleasure and pain are all imperfect. The real explanation is that we are eternal servant of God, and that as soon as we forget this relationship, we are thrown into the material world, where we create our different activities and suffer or enjoy the result. We are drawn into this material world by desire, but the same desire must be purified and employed in devotional service of the Lord. Then our disease of wandering in the universe under different forms and conditions will end. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuthapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadhuvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Deve Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhe Vacha Patitanam Papanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. This is again a continuation, another verse which continues from where Manu Maharaj, Swayambhuva Manu, is trying to explain to Dhruva Maharaj for the reasons not to fight. Previously he has explained the devotional qualities of a saintly person, and then further he explains how the Supreme Lord is so great and the Supreme Lord's qualities. So in this verse, a nice explanation is given where Manu Maharaj or Swayambhuva Manu is giving few reasons of why there is so much variety and which causes a lot of happiness and distress, why there are so many different species of life, why there is intense pain, suffering or enjoyment in this world. So here, according to the verse on the board, he explains 5 things. He names 5 things. He says that it can be either karma, others say it's nature, fate, it's time, or it's desire. But the fact is, it's not either of them, it's all of them. Now karma, we all understand, karma is our actions and reactions, what we do, and then we get a consequent result. So if our actions have caused some pain to someone else, then we have to suffer, and vice versa, we'll enjoy it. Now how nature is working is, nature ultimately delivers that happiness or distress. Prakriti. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasa ahankara bhimunatma kartahamiti mannate. Nature does a lot of work. Nature plays a major role. Prakriti plays a major role in giving happiness and distress to people. Then the third one is time. Kala. Time has its destructive forces. So old age, death, everything we have gets deteriorated, it's taken away from us. That's again given by time. That also takes causes happiness and distress in people's life. Then the fourth one is fate. Now fate again is very much connected to our karma. What our destiny is very similar to what our karmic reactions will produce for us in future. And the fifth one here is desire. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport how desire plays a very key role in deciding our happiness and distress. So we'll talk a bit on desire today, and we'll see a little bit if we can do some understand more of how to manage it, because to control it is not our process. It is our process, but not to completely stop is not our process, as in the purport it's very clearly mentioned. So here, if you see in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is actually beginning by explaining different philosophers. And I was trying to understand why these names are even given, where these Mimamsakas, atheistic people, astronomers, sexualists, and then so on and so forth. He's saying so many philosophies are there. Actually, these few philosophies which he has mentioned, and then he's given an etc. after that, which means many more to come, are really driving people away from God. These understanding. Mimamsakas, if someone is Mimamsakas, are basically they revere the scriptures and they critically study the scriptures. They have critical analysis of scriptures, and then they use it for their material purposes, where in an indirect sense they defy God. Karma Mimamsa, and then Purva Mimamsa, and also there are other names also to it. And it is very similar to atheism, but it's in the name of Vedas that atheism is there. Even in Bhagavatam, we see 10th canto, Krishna is speaking about Karma Mimamsa when he's trying to explain when Indra Puja he wants to cancel and he wants Govardhan Puja to happen. So he is explaining Nanda Maharaj how your actions are more important, not the devas. But he is giving good proper philosophy, proper scriptural injunctions he is giving, how our actions cause a certain result, and then happiness and distress will come according to that. Then the second one is, Prabhupada is mentioning atheists, which are like head on, they directly defy God, and their propaganda is very clearly against the existence of God. So many institutions are based on that. Now the Church of Scientology or something is there. Very specifically they have clear explanations. Darwin's theory is there, and then you just talk to people. As soon as you say about God, it just puts you in a very secluded bracket of just a blind believer, and then you yourself feel very odd when you talk to people about God. We can't even give Bhagavad Gita saying God. The situation is so bad now. On street you can't tell this is about God. When you're giving Bhagavad Gita, which is spoken Bhagavad Gita, song of God, you can't say it is something about God. No, you really have to, this is meditation, yoga, I'll give you peace, happiness. You have to speak so indirect. The situation has become like that. It's because of this atheistic propaganda that people are so convinced of. Then he's talking about astronomers. Just trying to understand between the lines, but that what makes him mention astronomers. But so much of money, so much of research, so much of energy is going on to understand what is beyond this universe, what is beyond this world. So much of promises are given to people of another planet, another space, another place to live and be happy, and then going to moon planet, going to Mars, and then intense research, resources have been used for it. So, must be a hot topic that time. Maybe in Prabhupada's mind, he's writing astronomers as different philosophers, maybe different reason. I just couldn't think of very specifically. Then he's talking about sexualists. So these are the category of people who say that everything rotates around sexuality in this world. Everything moves around that. Very prominent. Very prominent. People may not speak directly about it, but this is what they live for. This is what reality is. In Bhagavad Gita 16th chapter, Krishna actually even 5,000 years before he mentioned this point while speaking Bhagavad Gita. In 16th chapter, verse number 8, he says, Asatyam apratishtam te jagat ahur anishwaram aparaspara sambhutam kim anyat kam haitukam. They say that this world is unreal, with no foundation, no God in control. They say it is produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. So direct, so much in connection, so spot on actually. This mindset which Krishna is pointing out must be existing then also. Then the immediately next verse, Krishna says, talking about this atheistic class, he says, Etam drishtim avasthabhya nastatmano alpabuddhaya prabhavanti ugra karmana shayaya jagato hita. Following such conclusions, the demoniac who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence engage in unbeneficial, horrible work meant to destroy the world. When the conclusions are based on such philosophy, it leads to destruction of the world. When the conclusion is based on atheism and everything is rotating around sex desire, and then everything is just for one's own pleasure, and all the desires are directed in that direction towards that goal, then it leads to horrible work meant to destroy the world. And this is exactly what we see around. So, bringing this to our personal lives, very important that for us as devotees, our lives don't rotate around these principles. Even though we do say, we are not atheists, or we are not any of such philosophers, but mind has contaminations. Mind has previous sanskaras, previous impressions, and the decision we make in our day-to-day life are very much taking guidance from these principles. My work is in my hand. I can control the results. I get what I do, and we work hard according to that, or towards that goal. And while we are trying to achieve something, while we are trying to gain something, and then in that race of trying to gain something, Krishna is not even in the picture. Krishna is not even there in the whole scenario. Krishna's mercy. Sometimes when you speak to devotees and you talk about Krishna's mercy, on their face you can see that how alien the concept is when you're talking about Krishna's mercy in day-to-day life. Devotees' mercy. What is mercy? It's like very weird sort of, sometimes it's very different, very odd concept. I'm struggling with my job, family issues are there, and then health issues are there, and then you're talking about Krishna's mercy. I have to fix these things now. Because these impressions, these philosophies are there in our consciousness. That contaminations are there in our consciousness, in our subconscious mind, or even conscious mind sometimes. So, going further in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is actually making it very specific that even though these 5 points are given in the purport, in the verse, desire takes a prominent position when we're talking about our happiness and distress. And that desire is the main core cause of us being separate from Krishna. That desire is the main cause of us being suffering here away from the Supreme Lord. Now this question again has caused a lot of confusion in many devotees' life. This is like This is a question which is asked most number of times. If we were with Krishna, then how could we desire to go away from Krishna? Because Krishna is perfect and spiritual world is perfect. Then how could we have an imperfect desire in our heart to come down to this material realm and leave Krishna? So many times this question is answered. And different varieties of answers we get. But Srila Prabhupada sticks to one answer very specifically most of the time. Is that it's even here also he says, the living entity are original parts of the Lord, like sparks of a fire, but they have dropped into the material world attracted by a desire to lord it over nature. That is the fact. Every living entity is trying to lord it over material resources to the best of his ability. So when he mentions this most of the time, to answer this is we want also to be separate lords. We also want to be separately enjoying from the Supreme Lord, which makes us come to this place, this material world. And I was thinking about this particular explanation, even though we have heard it so many times, it actually doesn't sink in much. That what actually it means to separately lord over than the Supreme Lord. Certain philosophical points remain theoretical for decades in devotees' life. It really doesn't go in very well. It really doesn't sink in. It really doesn't make too much sense on practical basis. Even though theoretically we understand the philosophical point, that what it means to enjoy separate from Krishna. What it is that has caused a living entity to fall to this material world when he has decided, okay, now I want to myself enjoy as a Supreme Lord how Krishna must be enjoying in spiritual world. It's difficult to comprehend, especially as devotees when we want to go to the Supreme Lord and we want to serve Him. That's why this question comes so much. What actually would have happened that I decided to come here? In Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning it almost 40-50 times, lording over material nature, lording over material nature. So many times he mentions. So that lording over material nature, if you break it apart, that lording over material nature is lording over in relationships also, lording over in our day-to-day life, lording over based on our position. If someone is a manager and he has people working under him, he wants to lord over the inferior employees under him. If someone within a family wants to lord over another partner, kids also, then we try to lord over different resources which are given to us. We try to lord over our skill we try to lord over money which we have by birth. We try to lord over any facility given to us by society, by the nature, by the Supreme Lord. We try to lord over. This is lording over. This is trying to ourselves enjoy separate from the Supreme Lord and use it for our purposes, whether it's a relationship or it's a resource given by devatas, by the Supreme Lord, by material nature. So if you break it apart, lording over material nature, it's a topic in itself. You can just talk about it on and on and on. How we are lording over different things. We can even lord over a flower garland. A Bhagavatam class can be lorded over. You can use Bhagavatam class and then you self-glorify yourself and go out. So many things you can. While doing deity worship, we can lord over. We can lord over the Lord only. While doing deity worship. And we become the center of between us and public, and between Lord and public, the pujari can become a center. So that's how specifically deep it can be. A book distributor distributing books, and then when the scores are out, he can lord over the scores also. So many ways we can lord over the resources of the facility or what we have, positions. It's such an amazing. Prabhupada really uses this so many times, lording over material resources. So many times he uses this. So then what to do with the desires? What is proper utilization of desires then? There are some philosophers, some Mayavadi philosophers who say that you just work hard and give up your desires. And once you are desireless, because desire is the cause of all suffering, material suffering and happiness, and once you have no desires, then you are happy. Eternal happiness is there because you cannot, there is no more desire. But we understand that to not think is not possible. To not desire is not possible. Sankarshan Prabhu very commonly says, to desire, to not desire is also a desire. That okay, from now on I don't want to desire. But that's a desire. That I will not desire. Or to think that I will not think from now on is also thinking. So, what to do with desires? So there are three types of desires. Basically, just one is an anti-devotional desire. Those desires which are directly violating regulative principles, they are anti-devotional. There's not too much to think about it. One should just do something about it and reject it. Just give it up. Because if we see, all desires are not bad desires. Certain desires are desires of need. If you're hungry, soon after that, or maybe now also, a desire will be coming. And we'll see kids running, pudi. It's a desire. So then we'll also desire to have breakfast. So this is a desire which is a need, which can be fulfilled. But then there is another desire which, suppose when taking example of food, which is craving. You're really craving for something. And then you may end up overeating. That may not be good for you. So, but desires are good. So one category is anti-devotional desire, which takes us really away from the Supreme Lord and our goal, our spiritual goal, which is breaking regulative principles. That desire which leads to weakening us when we break regulative principles. Then the other category of desire is non-devotional desire. Non-devotional desire can be, going for a picnic or you go out and play some sports. It's not devotional activity. It's non-devotional. And we just go and engage in that. While we are doing non-devotional activities, which may not be anti-devotional, but they are non-devotional, if we have spiritual knowledge, if we have proper knowledge and understanding and some experience of the process, in due course we will actually realize how these non-devotional activities either should be utilized in service of Krishna or should be given up because they are not generating happiness which we are hankering for. Many devotees, one devotee was telling me that he just likes him and his family to just go on for shopping. They just go for shopping. That's it. And wife likes to shop, husband likes to shop, they just go for shopping. There's nothing wrong in shopping. Just go for shopping. But after certain period, while you are gaining spiritual knowledge side by side, while we are experiencing some spiritual happiness in the process of hearing and chanting, in due course we'll see, what am I doing? Just go for shopping, just that a desire came and I just went out and then I started buying things. Then we may try to reduce it or curb it and bring it little under control. You'll see many times, even in devotee circle, outside it's very common. Outside is just super common philosophy, but even with devotees, they'll say that if a desire is there, do not suppress it too much. Because when you suppress a desire, it increases. Have you heard this? Is there, right? The outside it's just so common. Do not suppress, express. Do not suppress it. You express your desire. But actually it's not true. Completely. If in a circus, when they have to train a tiger, what are those people called who train? ringmaster, yeah. So if a ringmaster has to train a tiger, he makes a tiger starve. And when a tiger is starving, tiger roars. And when a tiger roars, everyone gets scared, And then first day you don't give him food, or first meal you don't give him, he is roaring. Second meal he is super hungry, and he is even roaring even louder. He's scaring people away. So if the ringmaster doesn't get intimidated, thinking that the tiger is roaring even stronger, and if he understands that actually tiger is not roaring stronger, tiger is actually getting weaker. Tiger is actually getting weaker when he's roaring more and more, when we're not feeding him. So if the ringmaster is smart enough, experienced enough, and he doesn't get intimidated, and he doesn't feed the tiger getting scared, then the tiger becomes a small cat after some time. And then he can make the tiger do anything what he wants. A very similar thing happens with the mind also. Mind roars, mind demands. It gets so intense sometimes. When a desire comes, it gets so intense that, it's like you're put in the bars and you want to do something, you're hitting your head with the wall, It's like very intense. If we can tolerate having something very positive and spiritual with us, and we can tolerate that, it actually cools down. It actually cools down. Even if we cannot tolerate, and we do go for it, and we do fulfill that desire if after trying hard, still there is a hope, because even if we do experience, if we do fall for those desires, and simultaneously we have a spiritual process with us, we have shelter of Krishna with us, shelter of devotees and knowledge with us, it's a given fact. In due course, all of us will have to come to this conclusion that what a waste of time it was. If simultaneously Krishna consciousness is practiced properly, even though we are falling for our desires and both are going together, all the devotees, just see whoever has practiced for some years, in their later years, or after their mid-age or whatever, if they practiced for 15, 20 years, and then they may not be the best of the practitioners, they all come to this conclusion that I wasted my 15 years. I could have done this that time. Then they remember, when I was a full-time devotee, when I was a Brahmachari, those were the best years. So many devotees tell us in class, that when those 5 years were the best, now I have such and such issue, that and that issue. Why? Because that knowledge experience continues, and we are falling for those desires simultaneously. We will, someone asked a question the other day, and Sankarshan Prabhu said, so you think you are more stronger than Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Your material desire is more stronger than the holy name. It has to go weaker. Only and if the process association is very much aligned. So, and that's why even Srila Prabhupada would focus a lot on crowding ourselves with devotional activities. When you really crowd up this room, when you really crowd this place, those who are hanging around, who are not serious about attending a kirtan, for example, a kirtan is going on and they are just moving around, they are doing something, and more people who are very inclined to attend kirtan are walking in, moving in. Those are not very interested, they gradually start going out, because it's getting uncomfortable, because they're not interested in something spiritual. Prabhupada gives a similar example of ink in a glass. If ink is there and you want to have clear water, you just keep adding water, gradually ink goes out. So that's crowding the mind, crowding the consciousness by spiritual activities, where non-spiritual activities gradually they're just pushed out. So the third category after anti-devotional activities, desire, then non-devotional desire, and the third is pro-devotional. Someone likes cooking, someone likes to play an instrument. That's not devotional directly. To cook is not devotional. What you can cook and offer to Krishna, that's devotional. To play harmonium or mridanga is not devotional directly. But to play for Krishna is devotional. So this is how our desires can be categorized. So first is completely rejected. Anti-devotional, just throw it out. Anything which breaks regulatory principles, we don't need it. Then second is non-devotional activities. Some enjoyment, some happiness, which is okay. Then the third one is pro-devotional. We can utilize what we have in service of Krishna. So to not desire is not possible. Our only hope is utilization of those desires, and that's our process. Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj had so many disciples who were super learned, pure devotees of the Lord also. Many of them, so many went back to Godhead also. But Srila Prabhupada picked up that desire to spread Krishna consciousness, made it so intense within him. Just a desire only. The whole Krishna consciousness movement, ISKCON, is based on a desire. The whole seed is the desire of his Guru. And that desire was so much... He made the desire plant in his heart, and then that became so strong, such a big tree, that it just came out and then gave fruits all over the world practically. He just pushed out. That desire became so intense for Srila Prabhupada. So, if spiritual desires are getting more and more in us, then naturally, for example, a common example, if you already have a dinner invitation tonight from someone's house, and then another devotee comes and invites you for a dinner, Prabhu, Mataji, please come, have dinner. It's easy to say no, because you have another positive engagement also. You know there also dinner is good. But if you're not doing anything and you're just sitting at home with no pre-arrangements, you don't have anything planned for you that time, and if someone comes and says, come, it's hard to say no. It's hard to say no because there is no engagement. And that's why many devotees, what they do is, they know mind is very chanchal, very flickering. So they set goals. Okay, next 6 months I want to finish this book. Next 6 months, this is what I want to achieve. For next 1 year, I want to do such and such thing. So whenever they get some free time, so no one can just come and take them away. But they're already pre-engaged, they're so engaged and they're so occupied positively that they're not distracted. This is one good thing, even in ashram life also, is that one should be busy. If one is busy serving Krishna, and then while we are very busy in serving the Lord, all other things are not disturbing. And gradually the mind, the consciousness is getting more and more crowded, and other things which are taking us away from Krishna will slowly come out. Because all devotional activities are entering. All the impressions or sanskars are coming within. All the spiritual impressions, all the services we are doing are actually taking place in the consciousness. So, if as devotees we have enough engagement, then YouTube, Facebook, all this social media, it just kills time. It's like, especially YouTube or Facebook, it just links you up to another link, to another link, to another link, and after few hours you find out what was the reason for me to go to YouTube. And if you chain it back, it was 50 videos before you came to YouTube to search something. YouTube has become an addiction actually for people. Facebook, we all know. You just wanted to check one post. Oh, what a quote, Prabhupada's quote today. And after 3 hours we find out that we are somewhere else in someone else's profile, to connect it to someone else's profile, watching someone else's photo in another part of the world, whatever. I don't have Facebook account, I don't know exactly how it works, but I have heard this is how it works. YouTube I know. I'm victim of YouTube many times. YouTube, I know how it really can distract you. But if we have engagement, then where is YouTube? Where is Facebook? Or where is any other social media network? Where is it? It's not there. Because oh my God, if now I don't do such and such thing, then I'll not be able to do. Put it aside. So that's what I just wanted to. I thought this will be nice from this purport about desires. Just few minutes more on today is another very special day. That's Panihati Chidadai festival. It's an amazing pastime from Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's in Untitled Chapter 6 where Raghunath Das Goswami hears that Nityananda Prabhu and his associates have come to Panihati. It's a village near Calcutta or somewhere, I think. So Nityananda Prabhu and his associates have come to Panihati, that place. So Raghunath Das Goswami goes there to take darshan of the Lord and get his blessings. So Raghunath Das Goswami goes and he sees Nityananda Prabhu was so effulgent, like many moons. So from a distance he pays obeisances to Nityananda Prabhu. From distance he is paying obeisances, and then one of the servants of Nityananda Prabhu tells him that, see Raghunath Das, he is from distance paying you obeisances. So Nityananda Prabhu, he said, he's a thief. Call him here. And Nityananda Prabhu, Raghunath Das Thakur is not coming close to Nityananda Prabhu. So he said, no, he's a thief. Then Nityananda Prabhu goes, grabs him and brings him. He said, why are you staying away? You are a thief. Now I want to punish you. So it's funny, Nityananda Prabhu is funny, and then I want to punish you. So the punishment is, Raghunath Das Goswami was rich, father's son. Your punishment is, you do a festival of Chidadai, of flat rice, yogurt, bananas and sweet meats and condensed milk and all. You do a big festival and invite and serve all my associates. So Raghunath Das became very happy, okay, this is a punishment, this is good. And then he arranges all his men to go and buy this stuff. So they made two types of variety. One was with flat rice and yogurt, with sweet meat and bananas, that's one item. Second is with flat rice and condensed milk. These are two types of pots there in the party. So the invitation, the news went out that this is happening. People just started coming in, this party is happening. This, even if you put a private function notice here, few of us still we go upstairs, because the news spreads out, some special prasadam from kitchen only, The other day I got chastised from kitchen, why Mahaprasad stealing. News spreads out, today is good prasadam, okay. Time to steal or time to go. We don't steal. So, public, So the news spread out that this big festival is happening. And then all these arrangements were made, and on a raised platform, Nityananda Prabhu sat with his 7 associates, and then like that there were many circles, many devotees sitting. So many devotees came that on the raised platform, what they had there, so many devotees were sitting. Then on the platform, below the raised platform, so many devotees were sitting. There was no space, then devotees had to sit on the bank of Ganges. Then that also got filled, so devotees had to go in the water. So many devotees were coming. So for this, everyone was given two pots. One of this, one of that. One with yogurt, one with the condensed milk. And then many brahmanas came, news spread, many sellers also came who were selling this Chidadai. Then Raghunath Das Goswami purchased all of their goods also. This whole pastime was happening. And then suddenly everyone noticed Nityananda Prabhu is acting a little different. Why is he doing what he's doing? So only few could see that in his meditation while eating, Nityananda Prabhu invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and from all different pots he collected some morsels and he started feeding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, pushing in his mouth. And they both are enjoying like cowherd boys, all of them. So And then this whole festival continues, where Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, everyone is loudly shouting Hari Hari, and then just trying to imagine the scene, hundreds and thousands of people, no space, even people are in the water also eating with their pots. So that's the festival today. I thought I'll just briefly describe the amazing festival before breakfast. Even though khichdi is not that great, but at least it's Krishna Prasad. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much about desire. Desire. I was thinking of one time Rupa Goswami was chanting near the Mandir.
Yeah.
So he was, while chanting, he was in so much ecstasy, he could go and see into the spiritual world what is happening. So in the spiritual world, what was happening is Radharani was on a higher branch and Krishna was on the lower branch of the tree. And Krishna said, jump out to Radharani. And when Radharani jumped out, Krishna didn't pick her. She fell up to the ground. And that made Rupa Goswami laugh. Strong, very big laugh. And at that time, one person, he was a devotee, so he was passing through. And he had deformed body. So because of that deformed body, when he saw Rupa Goswami laughing, he got very annoyed. He said, he's
laughing at me, yeah.
And so Rupa Goswami was laughing and laughing and laughing till he passed across. Then he got, then he started chanting again after this, when Radharani had fallen on the ground. So then he couldn't do good chanting in ecstasy. So later on he asked Sanatana Goswami that what is the cause? Why I am not able to concentrate in my chanting today? So Sanatana Goswami said, well, you offended somebody and that's why your chanting is disturbed. So he asked Sanatana Goswami, all right, then how can I find out whom I offended? I don't know whom I offended.
Yeah, it's a long past time.
Yeah. So Sanatana Goswami suggested you throw a party to all the Vaishnavas, and if somebody doesn't come, am I taking you? Sangeet 25. So you can go for another 3 minutes. So he invited a lot of Vaishnavas whom should we know. So one person didn't come. So he went to his house later on after the party. He said, sorry, I offended you.
Yeah.
So he said, why you got offended? So he said, you were laughing so heartily, so much loud. So I felt that you were laughing on me because of my deformed body. So then he asked that pardon and all that. And so this is the ecstasy in chanting. Rupa Goswami chanting is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And desire, this is the desire we should have. The desire of Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Anything else? Yes, Madhu.
So you said that even while doing our service, we can get into that tendency of feel like we lower the service. How can we curb that tendency?
So question is, while doing our service, we were discussing in the class that we can lord over even while doing our services, how to curb that tendency. So one way of curbing that tendency is to see how those who are more experienced and more devotionally advanced than us, what their attitude is while doing that service. So sometimes this is how I also notice few times, that if you cook something and it's liked by many devotees, So when we cook, and it's like by many devotees, how we react within us, that sometimes people cook and they go and ask 20 people, how was it? How was it? Was the salt okay? How was it? Because they want to know how good it was. They're not very keen on knowing the salt. Sometimes they want to, but mostly they want to know how good the prasadam was. And there we see some very advanced devotees, they just cook and they're off the scene. They're just not even in the picture after doing their seva. Because they're not interested in glorification after that. Later they'll take the feedback, or they themselves will try it out and get the feedback. But they don't want to be in the scene. I remember almost 9 years before, we would do sometimes dramas in university, in a preaching program or something. And there was one devotee, after the drama, he will not be visible. You can't just find him. Even in a retreat, he'll just disappear. Why? Because he knows public has applauded a lot, and he doesn't want them to praise him after the drama is successful. And I would straight away come in public just to hear how good the acting or drama was. So that was a learning experience for me, that how devotee can act, or at least an attitude, that you may not be able to run away or hide away, but at least how not to seek glorification, because that is lording over. You wanted to enjoy that action, not Krishna. So that's lording over. Lording over literally means you want to enjoy that action, not Krishna. That's one way. Another way is why, before we do our service, why not realign the consciousness before we get into it? That okay, why am I doing this? Who it is for? And then get into practice. That happens with proper spiritual knowledge and then purified consciousness. Suppose one time I was going to give a lecture, and then one devotee told me, it will be better if you do some rounds before giving a lecture. So your consciousness is not very frivolous in just gaining public attention than rather it's more devotional. These are the ways I can think of. Anything else?
Another way would be to engage more devotees' participation in your service, so you are not doing it alone.
No, but there's some service you can't just make people participate. If I have to do aarti, it's hard, Even in kitchen, to cut vegetables, it's hard to get anyone and everyone. Suppose Mahaprasad cooking is happening. Many services in paraphernalia, if you're doing flowers, not everyone can come in. But of course, at some point is there where some services are there where you can engage more devotees, so that you are not the sole person, you are not the only person in the picture. Sometimes you see, a selfless devotee is, if you take a picture, a photo of some service or action done, and so that devotee is not even in the picture. That's selfless service. You take a photograph, oh nice Prabhupada dressing happened. People who will do dressing, they'll put their face in, I did it. So you're not even in the picture. You're not even in many devotees we see, many Matajis, many Prabhus we see. It's hard to even find out who did this service. And sometimes what many devotees will do is, the whole temple will know who did this service. Whole temple finds out. Whole temple gets to know who did this seva. So Prabhupada says this, the advancement in spiritual life depends a lot on the attitude of the practitioner. So to avoid lording over, it's the work on the attitude. How we build that attitude while doing certain seva. You just name one service. You can lord over any service. You just name it. You just name anything. Even if you put the mats properly, you really can make sure that it's so much well aligned when you clean temple room, and it's so well aligned that that people should notice, this devotee really puts mat properly. It can be anything. Even putting this stand, properly. Anything it can be. It can be anything. It's so subtle. From personal experience, I'm saying how sometimes you really feel really that bad, in everything I'm seeking this. In everything I'm seeking some sense of glorification. And if we actually continue doing that, then the taste is not there. It becomes it gives a bad taste after some time. And then you really want to do something which no one knows. It's a big difference. You chant one day 64 rounds and no one finds out. And you chant 64 rounds and everyone finds out. There is a big difference in that chanting. That feeling, that attachment to Krishna is a big difference. You chanted so many rounds. Today I chanted 128 rounds. And it goes on Facebook. So whole Melbourne knows, whole community knows today this devotee chanted 128 rounds. And then there is one devotee who did it and no one knows. He's so intimate with Krishna that you're getting a point. So I feel this is few of the things. Anything else?
What you are saying is that we have to please Krishna, not ours.
Exactly. That's what lording over is, that pleasure is ours. That's lording over. Okay. Hare Krishna. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. Taiva Premanande.